Hey, Michelle, thanks for coming on.
Sure.
What we're going to talk about today first is kind of the overall experience with PTDU. I want to kind of get from the start. You've been on with us for, I would say, almost a year now, PTDU side of things. And we're going to take it through a few questions. You're going to give your unfiltered thoughts on how everything's gone so far,
Okay.
and we'll take it from there.
Okay.
But first, talk about how you kind of found out about us initially and the intro process from getting the text to coming on board.
Yeah, it was, I guess, just a surprise text. I was sitting unhappy in my job, having lunch one day, and I think I had had my feelers out there or whatever. I mean, I must have on Indeed or something like that. Anywho, got your text, just replied to it and was like, yeah, I'm interested. Tell me more about it. That easy. Just hit yes.
Very nice. And the mobile part B side of the world, one, I want to get your thoughts on how it's different than part A and what you like more about part B. And then two, just the lifestyle of doing mobile part B.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I can't say enough good things about it, meaning that it's still part B. So you still have those active people compared to part A, where you might get anything from bedbound, minimally active, let's say, to, yeah, your most active person playing sports, playing pickleball, doing whatever. So it's the same people you would see. I came from a clinic that had that same base, very active part B people. So I just felt like it was the same people. I just get to see them in their environment that I'm constantly trying to simulate in the clinic that I could do more live, real time. So that was definitely nice. And it's the same population, same simple documentation, which I'm sure you'll get to later. So that was an easy transition as well. But it's nice to put those people, when I want to see them, when we're both available versus being tied to the clinic. It's really freeing to go see somebody like I would in the clinic and do all those outpatient things that we normally do, and then get in your car and drive away.
And to the flexibility of it, I mean, I know you've done part A work before in the past too, just the flexibility of part B and, missed visits are not the end of the world. There's no rush to get out there within 24 to 48 hours. So, on top of that, I think, you know that more than anyone too. The difference from part A to part B, it's still in the home, you're still driving around, but the sense of freedom or just maybe less stress you have
Oh my
doing part B
gosh,
work.
incredible, because you're answering to yourself. You're seeing those people when you want to. You don't still in the clinic, there's still a numbers vibe, right? I mean, so you could see as many people as you want as you build, your patient base, but it's not like pounded into you where you've got to. And yeah, that's what I actually tell people that I'm transitioning from A to B with this. It's like, I mean, there's way less rules, but we could actually do more, because that is really essentially, I don't have to stick to I mean, you have to stick to rules, but like you could see people twice a week. You don't have to have it crammed into this 30-day time slot, where
Yeah.
and if you miss a visit, it's like, know, end of the world, where now it's like, you cancel, that's fine, or
100%.
whatever. Yeah,
You know,
way looser and way easier to create your own schedule.
going into the documentation, that is every therapist's biggest fear. One is how long the documentation takes, and two, the documentation training that the company typically provides. So speak to both one, how you like using the platform, and then two, the documentation training support that you received when you first got started.
Well, your training was excellent, so kudos to you. I'm not just saying that because I'm being recorded. It was very easy. I think what helped me was that the two other systems that I had learned in my clinic were actually fairly complex. Because so this is just my personal story because I came from a physician owned clinic. So the documentation system we had to use had to work for both. So it was more physician oriented versus therapy oriented. So I had a little bit of advantage because the one that we use is so simple compared to that because it's only PT. It's just click, 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 filling in the blanks, and you're filling in what you would normally fill in detail on a regular note. The soap portions. That's what you're really doing. Everything else is just kind of clicks through. I mean, it's easy to do it on the fly as you're evaluating, or sometimes, frankly, I don't bring my computer at all. That way I can have establish a better relationship with the patient. We're having more one-on-one time because I know it's not going to take me that long to fill it out when I get home. That's me personally. And I have always kind of practiced that way, that I kind of left my documentation, but it's not like I'm up till midnight doing it afterwards. Super easy to do, and that's why I don't worry about it. And yes, the training was excellent. I feel like you answered all of my questions when I had them. I never had like a panic moment or like a what the heck, how do you do this moment? Like a couple of times through, and I'm like, okay, that's it.
Good, good. And that's something we pride ourselves in, the training support, especially when you come on board. And two, this is kind of like I said, your own thing, your own patients, your own census. Talk about two. We have our office admin, our office support, getting the patients back to you, plotting the visits. So to speak to the level of support you get, whether it's marketing training or office admin side, that helps you kind of run the other parts.
Yeah, I don't have to do anything. I mean, all that communication comes to me. It is very rare that I have to hunt down information or go to the office staff. They have already provided me with the information that I really need to use before I have to ask for it. But if I do, it's just a click, one question, and within, I would say, minutes, I get an answer back, honestly. And that could be any time of day, because sometimes you're thinking of things at 9 o'clock at night, or, it just pops into your head, or because you have more free time, that's when maybe I'm sitting down to do work at that time or whatever. So, and if I have a quick question, they, and I don't expect them to get back to me at midnight, but somebody probably would. That's how good, that's how good they are. So that, the follow up calls, the tracking the time, I I mean, that is all done by the office. Like, I have never had to chase down information or clarify or whatever, or if I do, boom, answered really, really quickly. And most in 99% of the time, the all the information you get is correct the first time. So, very supportive, very fast responding, very
Perfect.
helpful.
Then talk about building up your patient network. A lot of it, as you can tell, and word of mouth as a therapist, patients love their therapists, and the word of mouth catches, and the patients start telling everyone that Michelle's a favorite therapist. And on top of connections that you had in the community too prior to coming on board, and how you've been able to kind of market yourself and talk to other people about the services it is that now you provide.
Yeah, I had actually a patient that I had a good relationship with who was not Part B. She's not Medicare, but yes, because of the relationship we had, she went to her doctor and marketed for me. So that was very helpful, even telling the base that you can't treat. Yes, I can't treat you through this company, but they still are on board for you. So that is helpful. I had, yes, good relationships with doctors that I really just had to give them the flyer, the little handout that you gave me, gave them a stack of that, told them basically, how easy the referral is. And I tell them they can call me. You don't have to do anything with this number that I give you. You know me, call me. You have a patient for me, and I'll do the rest. And that has been kind of for me the easiest way to market, because I just feel like giving doctors extra instruction is a little much for them. They like to keep it simple. So I'm like, here's one number. It's my number. Call me and I'll figure it out. And then between us and the staff. And so that keeps people coming because it's easy also. And yes, patients that I treated in the past, they call me first. It's just easier for me personally to do that. I said, just get a hold of me and I'll work the rest. And like I said, this other, and then they go back and tell their doctors how happy they are. And maybe when I graduate them, I'll give them a couple of the flyers and a couple of my cards and say, give these to your doctors at your follow up. And then they know they can bring more people back. And that's been working.
And that's where patients, they want to come see you year after year, especially
Yes.
with the Medicare. And that's how, to your census, your caseload compounds every year. So looking toward the future, in a year and 2 years, how do you envision, your caseload with Part B and, recurring, getting those old patients back? Where do you view that in a year or two?
I mean, I think you would have to fight them off. Like you, they'll keep coming back. You will have as much work as you want. I mean that, people are satisfied. They understand though that there's an insurance limitation. So January 1st, they'll come calling again. And I just think it's very easy. You can have as many or a few as you want to. Me personally, just at this point in my career, I personally don't need to make it a crazy amount. That's me. But if I therapist wanted to, yes, it would be very easy to just keep these relationships going because of the follow-up process, because of the office knowing how many visits that they have left. When do you want this person called back? So that if you're forgetting about who do I call when, the office is going to follow up with that too, which really helps back you up just in so that way you can keep them
100%.
coming. It's not all on you,
No,
but
yes.
and that's super, super helpful. But yeah, I mean, the sky's the limit. You could have just the full caseload rotating every year, which if you want to be full
That's what they
time and
do.
have
Yep.
those people, that would be an awesome goal. That would be a great thing to have.
Great, great. And then talk to me about, there's some therapists that would be on the fence. They're like, hey, I'm not sure this opportunity is for me, but either, speaking to that person who's maybe not sure if they want to take the jump or start to build. Talk to me about what you'd say to them, that therapist who's unsure whether or not they want to start building their Part B caseload or, take the leap into mobile Part B.
Of course, it goes without saying it depends on where you are in your career and your mindset. But I just think in this day and age, it's so much nicer to have freedom. I don't care how old you are. If you want to see work 80 hours a week, you could do it if you wanted to. If you're somebody like me personally who's pulling back a little bit, then I can fill it either way. I think that when anytime mobile health or mobile therapist or home health, that it is said, if you're like an outpatient minded therapist, you're like, no, no, like that's like a horrible, I would never do that. But it really honestly is that same great outpatient type patient that you're going to get. You're just traveling to them. So it's all up to you, having your own schedule. I can't stress that enough. It's so freeing. I can 100% tell you that I was tied to a clinic for 23 years and I loved it, but having that freedom and still being full time as much as you want to be, it's the same. It's the same. And in fact, I actually think you have more time really on your hands because you're in charge of your documentation. It's easy, going to see the patient. So you still have that same relationship building, but, they might not drag their feet for 2 hours. They might not want to just be hanging around the clinic, like, get out of here, like you can leave, you can walk out the door whenever you're ready. So I think that answers the question
Yeah.
as much.
And this is just the state of physical therapy as a whole too in Florida when it comes to insurance-based practices. And this is what I tell all the PTs is that I worked for a company too. My rates got slashed when I was working for someone else. So if
Sure.
you're working your job or you're working for a home health agency or just your normal place, there is no guarantee, one, that you're ever going to get a raise, two, that your rates don't actually go down, three, that they don't start giving that work to a PTA. So I tell people, anyone, if you think you're safe in the current situation that you're in, it's actually more of a risk to stay there and not trying to build up your own caseload and census. That's yours because companies, the cost of marketing will go up, insurance rates will go down. And what they'll have to do, like I said, is cut your rates or give all the work to PTAs that they can pay less than you. So I
Yeah,
tell anyone, it's the unfortunate state of physical, insurance-based practices. But
true.
that's what's different about us.
100%. And you're preaching to the choir. My salary was cut. That is why I was unhappy in my job. Yes, it was physician owned, but then it went corporate. But even so, there was a ceiling and I knew how hard I was working in my job and I knew I was worth more. So, yes. So that, I mean, is an enormous incentive that you're getting more. There's more in my pocket, 100%. It doesn't go to all these other people who didn't contribute to that patient's care when you're the one who did it.
100%. So, I tell therapists, especially in the home health setting, it's only getting worse, unless Medicare, they're slashing the Part A reimbursements. Home healthcare agencies have to pay people more to market. And it's only going to go down, unfortunately, from there. So I say, like I said, it's a bigger risk to stay where you are as opposed to trying to learn the personal development skills it is to try and market yourself with our help. And then two, build up your own patient caseload so you have that control going forward. We have another therapist who's going into her retirement. She's like, I just want, 2 days a week where I got patients that are mine that I can keep coming to see and treat because it's super easy and I can have money coming into her retirement. And that's only possible if, those patients are yours. If you work at a
Exactly.
company, they're going to give those patients and cycle them back to, a new grad or a PTA instead of, those higher rates that they have to pay you.
Yeah, and that was my focus too. Yes, I'm semi-retired, and as soon as I started working, I went full time again. I wasn't semi-retired for long because I built up my caseload and I enjoyed it. And I'm like, this is full time. Like it doesn't feel kind of like, working yourself to death for pennies on the dollar anymore. Like I said, it's my time. So that's what and you can pick and choose who you want to see also. So if there's somebody you don't, maybe get along with, or, there's a little or whatever
Never
that
the
happens,
case,
we're all
Michelle. That's
people.
never the case, huh?
I can usually there's a couple people I've met that maybe
We're all guilty. We're all guilty.
exactly, exactly. So you're like, maybe that one doesn't get a call back. So you're not stuck either. You're really seeing only people that you enjoy.
Perfect.